Actually, I'm going to tell you.
Please stand. Please stand for the singing of our national anthem, which will be sung by the choir of the Florence campus, directed by Dr. Alan Cohen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Capuano, and I am the University Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. I am delighted to welcome everyone with us today, students, faculty, staff, administrators, trustees, platform members, and guests to the convocation of Fairleigh Dickinson University for the 2014-2015 academic year. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce those members of the platform party who are not active participants in this afternoon's program. Please stand as I call your name. I ask the audience to please hold your applause until I have introduced everyone. John Codd, University General Counsel. Hanya Ferrara, Chief Operating Officer and Vice President for Finance. Karen Lewis, President of the Professional Administrative Senate. Richard Reese, Senior Vice President for University Advancement. Richard Riccio, Vice President for Administration. William Roberts, President of the Faculty Senate. Jason Scorza, Vice Provost for Academic and International Affairs. Neil Sturm, Vice President and Chief Information Officer. John Wexler, Vice President for Enrollment Management. Board of Trustees, Patrick J. Zenner, Chairman. Anthony Ambrosio. Steve Grumbach. Robert Hallenbeck, Vice Chairman. Franklin Jennifer. Stuart Krentzman. Donna Markey, Ann Petroselli, Robert Perez, Robert Saltarelli, and Mary Kay Stratus. I'd also like to introduce the Dean of Students on each of our campuses here in New Jersey. Please stand when I call your name. Jasmine Verum, Dean of Students at the Florham campus. And Michelle McCrory Hines, Dean of Students at the Metropolitan campus. I also want to recognize the leaders of the Student Government Association on each campus. Please stand and remain standing when I call your name. Jasmine Zikri, the SGA President of the Florham campus, and David Gaylord, the SGA President at the Metropolitan campus. Jasmine is an entrepreneurial studies major. She has been involved in student government since her freshman year. She is also a student ambassador for the Professional Development Program in the Silverman College of Business. David is from Tweed, Ontario, Canada. He is a senior business marketing major, and he has been named NEC Scholar Athlete of the Year and Team MVP for men's golf. Are there any retired faculty in attendance today? All right, beautiful day, so I'm sure they're off enjoying themselves.
There's a couple back in the...
There is a couple? Okay, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I would also like you to acknowledge in absentia the faculty, staff, and students who are at our other campuses in Canada and England and therefore not in attendance today. Now it is my pleasure to present the deans of our colleges who will introduce their new faculty. Faculty should stand when their name is called and remain standing until all names have been called in their college. I ask the audience to hold their applause until all names are read in a particular college. Jeffrey Wyman, Dean of the Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences, will introduce the new faculty in Becton College. Dean Wyman.
Thank you, Chris. It's my pleasure to introduce 7 new faculty to the Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences. Megan Delaney, who joins us as Assistant Professor of Counselor Education. Robert Griffo, Assistant Professor of Psychology. Brian Knorr, Assistant Professor of Physics. Kaylin O'Connor Fitzpatrick, Lecturer in Biology. April Patrick, Lecturer of Literature. Edward J. Salaski, Assistant Professor of Chemistry. Rashida Young, Lecturer in College Writing. Welcome to all of you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Alvoltroni, Dean of the School of Pharmacy, who will introduce the new faculty in pharmacy.
I'm delighted to be able to welcome to the faculty ranks 8 new faculty from the School of Pharmacy. Anna Dushenkov, Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice. Julie Kalabalik, Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice. Ruby Mahato, Assistant Professor of Pharmaceutical Science. Aze Elif Ozdiner, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice. Rachel Rivera, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice. Margaret Slugoki, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice. Jesse Sullivan, Clinical Assistant Professor of Pharmacy Practice, and Georgetta Vidine, Professor of Pharmacy Practice. Congratulations and welcome to each one of you.
I now invite Kenneth T. Verkins, Dean of the Anthony J. Petrocelli College for Continuing Studies, to introduce his new faculty. Dean Verkins.
Thank you, Chris. It is a privilege to welcome two new faculty to the Anthony J. Petrocelli College of Continuing Studies. First, Sean McLeod, Senior Lecturer of Hospitality and Tourism Management. Second, Erica Oliveros, Senior Lecturer of Communications and Assistant Director of the Latino Promise Program. Welcome and best wishes.
Patty Mills, Dean of University Colleges of Arts, Sciences, and Professional Studies, will now introduce the new faculty in her college.
Thank you, Chris. It's my pleasure to introduce and to welcome the following faculty to University College. Vahid Alizadeh, Assistant Professor of Civil and Construction Engineering Technology. Marzi Azadarakash, Assistant Professor of Civil and Construction Engineering Technology. William Byrne, Lecturer of Computer Science. Lisa Chowdhury, Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice. Erdal Koza, Lecturer of Computer Science. Joanne Martin, Clinical Assistant Professor of Nursing. William Phillips, Lecturer of Computer Science. Julia Wagner, Lecturer of Academic Writing, and Golin Yi, Lecturer of History. Welcome.
Andrew Rossman, Dean of the Silverman College of Business, will now introduce the new faculty in his college.
Thank you, Chris. I have one faculty member I'd like to introduce, and more importantly, I'd like to meet her when I go out to visit in Vancouver next week, so I'll be able to do that. Our new faculty member is Sharmistha Nag, who's an assistant professor of economics.
I now invite President Drucker to address you. President Drucker.
Good afternoon. The President doesn't always speak at convocation, but I wanted again to say a few words following up on my convocation address of last year and updating you on where we are today. Last year, I described what I knew was going to be a challenging year. Challenging it was, but also eventful, exciting, and ultimately rewarding. I talked last year about some of the problems in higher education, ranging from rising tuition, increasing costs, reduced federal and state aid and support, and intense competition for attracting students. Our enrollment was down, and with it, our revenue. We needed to manage costs, increase enrollment, and plan to invest in innovation and in strategic growth. So we did just that. We had a pivotal opportunity as a community last year to talk about these challenges and make some important decisions about how we wanted to respond. Throughout the year, I met with faculty, students, alumni, and staff to discuss your insights and your ideas. Together we discussed best practices for moving forward and how to make current programs even stronger and new areas we might explore. Many of your ideas were included in our new strategic plan, developed throughout the year and approved by the Board of Trustees in June. In this plan, we identified important objectives that will ensure our growth and prosperity. These include initiatives that will improve the value and affordability of an FTU degree, expand key programs, focus on new areas of innovation, and increase public and private support. As I said in my note to the community a few weeks ago, the best part of the plan is that we drafted it together, and I know we will achieve the goals together. But while we were planning for the future, we didn't ignore the present. Last year, I asked you to do more with less. I asked us to consider how we might reorganize some operations to improve efficiency and performance. I asked for your continued devotion and sacrifice. And as usual, you responded to the challenge and answered the call. The result was a very, very memorable year with so many highlights. From the introduction and expansion of innovative programs, to the improvement and enhancement of key facilities, to the triumphs enjoyed in the classroom and in the athletic arena. Most notably, our undefeated Division III National Championship women's basketball team. By any measure, it was a year of progress, but there are some measures that really stand out. We concluded 2014 fiscal year with a budget surplus, the 15th consecutive year that we have achieved a surplus. In this economic climate, that is an outstanding record that positions us well for future achievements. Achieving a surplus is critically important for our growth, and this surplus will be invested in our endowment and in a number of projects outlined in the strategic plan. Thank you again to everyone for your resiliency, your creativity, and your resourcefulness. Our enrollment numbers this year also well illustrate our progress. The exact numbers are still being finalized, but our projections indicate an increase in both full-time undergraduate and graduate enrollment, as well as significant increases in first-time full-time freshmen. And we didn't lower our standards to build the class. In fact, the academic profile is stronger than ever. Tuition affordability remains our biggest concern today. I'm pleased to say that this year we will provide our students with more than $80 million to help them afford their FTU education. This is $10 million more than last year. Our enrollment team, led by John Wexler, has done a fantastic job. But our enrollment gains this year were also made possible by significant help from our faculty and staff, who are meeting and speaking with potential students at recruiting events throughout the year. These efforts really made a big difference. I thank you all so much. Many here deserve credit for making the university such an attractive destination. And many here deserve additional credit for the continued recognition and support the university receives in the form of philanthropy. I was so proud at this year's Charter Day when BD President and Chairman Vince Ferlenza announced a $1 million donation to the university. Overall, we enjoyed one of the most successful fundraising years in FTU's history, with donations reaching nearly $7 million. Such support shows the faith and confidence the external community has in FTU. We received many other forms of external validation as well. Just yesterday, I received a call from U.S. Congressman Bill Pascrell, who told me the great news that FDU was selected by the U.S. Department of Justice for a $1.3 million grant to study the alarming epidemic of sexual assault on campuses around the country and to help develop a comprehensive risk assessment and response program. This was the only award focusing on this subject given nationally this year. Leading the effort will be Robert Prentke, who last year at this event won the Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship. Thank you, Robert. If you're in the audience, would you please stand and be recognized? As we enter a new year, nothing would please me more than to tell you that we've cleared all the hurdles and the race is won. But while we are moving in the right direction, we must still continue to be diligent and determined. Providing an affordable education in today's economy is no small task. Making our programs accessible to more deserving students remains a vital priority. And above all, we must constantly ensure that once students arrive at FDU, they have every opportunity to succeed and thrive. Sometimes we ask much of you, but we do so knowing that what you do makes a world of difference for the lives of our students. And we try to recognize your hard work and sacrifice the best way we can. While we were not able to provide a raise last year, we did provide a one-time payment to all employees. This year, based on preliminary enrollment results, I plan to recommend to the board that it approve one of the largest across-the-board salary increases in 2 decades, 3.5%. I figured that'd get your attention. In addition to the across-the-board salary increase I just mentioned, I will also propose faculty equalization of $400,000 and a staff adjustment pool of $300,000. Combined, these 2 adjustments to salaries will be the largest in our university's history. Furthermore, if you recall last year, we were fortunate enough to be able to give our employees a healthcare insurance premium rebate. As many of you were informed last week, I'm very pleased to tell you that because we enjoyed such a relatively good year in this area, we will again provide employees a rebate. The rebate will be larger than the one last year. In fact, it will be the largest. For those participating in the family plan, the amount of rebate will be more than $1,000, with other amounts for other plans proportionally less. We know you have given much to the university, and we deeply appreciate all that you do. I wish everyone a very prosperous and enjoyable year. Take care of our students. They will learn much from what you have to offer. And take care of each other. We are all in this together, and we will all rise further by staying true to our core values, by creating a positive culture for change and progress, and by displaying civility and compassion in everything we do. Thank you.
Thank you, President Drucker. My name is Peter Woolley. I'm Professor of Comparative Politics, and I have the great privilege and pleasure of serving also as Provost of the Florham campus. It's also now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Please proceed. Minna Proctor joined FDU in 2008
to teach nonfiction writing and literary translation. She also came to be editor of FDU's Literary Review, a copy of which I hope you all have in hand and will take with you. This is an internationally distributed journal of fiction and poetry with contributions from poets, writers, translators from all over the world. It is a jewel in the FDU crown. Minna has been working in publishing since 1995. She was editor of Colors and managing editor of Bomb. Her translation of Love in Vain won the Pen Poglia Prize in 1998. Viking Press in 2004 published her book on the idea of religious calling in America, a book called Do You Hear What I Hear? Her essays and reviews have appeared in such publications as Aperture, Book Forum, the LA Times, Guilt and Pleasure, The Nation, American Scholar, and the New York Times Review of Books. She's been a fellow at the MacDowell Colony in New Hampshire and the Bogliasco Foundation in Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, Minna Proctor.
Thank you, everyone. I have a story to tell you because all speeches that don't start with a joke start with a story. And I have a story, but I wanted to take a minute to give a little context about me, more context. What I do here, yes, I run the Literary Review, a quarterly magazine and website of literature. So it makes perfect sense to start with the New School of Pharmacy. At a campus meeting last spring, Dean Aveltroni said the most astonishing thing. He explained that one good reason for opening the school in the first place was that it would be only the second one of its kind in New Jersey, thus launching into an unsaturated market. And then he went on to describe expansion plans that included a sterile compounding lab, which nobody else in the region has, and which, because of a recent outbreak of meningitis resulting from badly mixed compounds, everyone should want. I know that you all know this. We've been building the School of Pharmacy for several years already. But for me, that particular afternoon, like gleaming clouds parting after a rainstorm, I heard it really clearly. The simplicity of the logic struck me. I am not a business person. I am possibly the antithesis of a business person, but even I can appreciate the crystalline economic logic of building a school for a growing field in a region densely populated by pharmaceutical companies. I would love nothing more than to come to you today and offer such an exquisitely articulate explanation of what we do at TLR. But we traffic in the arts. And one of our missions as artists is to discover and reveal unobvious logic patterns, to celebrate difference, to work in the margins, turn structures upside down and sideways. We, my colleagues and contributors, are tasked to move unflinchingly, to teach, work, and practice in the liminal space, the unknown, the unseen, the uncontrollable. Which is a long prelude to me admitting that not only are the arts invested in murky logic, but the Literary Review is not, alas, only one of 2 journals in New Jersey. Independent publishing is, in fact, an exploding field. There is a wildfire of activity in the literary arts fueled by new technologies. It's an exciting place to be if you can take the heat. So what does make us unique? Well, founded in 1957, we are one of the oldest continually publishing literary magazines in the country. Because of its affiliation with TLR, our MFA program is one of the very few low residency programs that gives students the chance to work with a professional magazine and graduate with work experience. That is notable for a low residency structure. And we publish amazing writing. But our endurance is no small achievement. It means that substantial writers like Joyce Carol Oates, who was granted an honorary degree last commencement, can stand at an FDU podium in 2014 and say, "I know you. You published me when no one else would." In 1962, we ran Joyce Carol Oates' story, The Fine White Mist of Winter. That was 52 years ago. Between 1962 and 1982, we published her 7 more times. Now, Joyce Carol Oates won the National Book Award in 1969. She could easily have commanded more money at Esquire magazine or a larger audience at the New Yorker, but she came back to us. Why? Because literary magazines hold a unique place in the world of letters. We publish writers who haven't been discovered. We discover writers. We publish poetry and short stories, neither of which find good homes in commercial publishing, financed by sensational novels that get turned into movies, political memoirs, and diet books. Think. All of Edgar Allan Poe's stories in the 1830s were first published in small literary magazines, because that's what a writer did in those days to get read, to get noticed. Guess what? Nothing's changed. I'm going to stop there, in part, because I think I've given you a sense of what we do, and I still have a story to tell. But I wanted to also explain how I came to FDU 6 years ago to run the literary review and teach creative writing. I came here, oddly enough, through literary translation, another field that has nothing to do with good business sense, but has everything to do with a global perspective. When I was a young college graduate trying to figure out how to become a brilliant and famous writer, I happened, as many have before me, to fall in love with Italy and Italians and Italian literature. And I also fell in love with the mysterious craft of literary translation, one of the most, I discovered, intimate relationships that a reader can have with a text, and also a kind of supersized crossword puzzle. I discovered that, like a sterile compounding lab, translating gave me a unique skill, which turned out to be a bit of a fast track. I was a consultant for Italian publishers, telling them which English language books they should buy and translate, and I was a consultant for American and UK publishers, telling them what Italian writers to translate. At a very young age, I was telling people what to read. And around the same time, I was introduced through a mutual friend to a young novelist, our colleague here, Renee Steinke. She'd just started at FDU, and one of her new roles was to edit the literary review, which meant she was taking a crash course in contemporary world literature. Our first conversation went something like, "Hello, Renee, I'm so happy to meet you. I've heard so much about you." To which she replied, "You're a translator," as if I were a three-headed unicorn. "I need you." We became dear friends, and eventually I came on to the TLR editorial advisory board and even guest edited an issue of Italian fiction. In the years after I got my MFA, I worked at a nonprofit organization setting up author visits to adult literacy programs in underserved areas, and then moved from there into magazine publishing, where I worked everywhere from a shoestring art magazine, Bomb, to the glamorous Devil Wears Prada world of women's magazines. I wrote a book about religion. I didn't get brilliant and famous when it published, but I wrote a book. When the editor job of TLR opened up to me, I felt like I couldn't have imagined a more perfect synthesis of my interests and skills: translation, literature, nonprofit, and magazines. And this, after an extremely long prologue, brings me to my story, or rather sets up my story. What brings me to my story are my students here at FDU, specifically my MFA graduate students, many of whom come into our program with other careers well underway and a lot of life behind them. They have stories, big stories to tell, and they come to us to learn how to tell them. My very first student at FDU was a writer in her early 40s who had recently lost her 11-year-old son to cancer. I was 7 months pregnant with my daughter at the time, and I remember the two of us staring at each other wide-eyed across the table, both of us thinking, are we going to be able to do this? Her story stirred such primal fear in me, and my pregnancy just made her ache. But stubbornness pushes you through difficult places, and some stories just have to be told. Of course, we were able to do it. I'd just like to pause and highlight some of my themes here. My 9th grade English teacher, who was a dreadful teacher, in lieu of teaching, used to hand out these crib sheets of major themes and leitmotifs for us to memorize. So the handout for Tennessee Williams' Streetcar Named Desire, for example, read themes: lust and death, suicide, madness, motifs, music, heat, the color white, memorize. It was such a limited way to study that monumental classic work. And yet, here's some themes for my story: stubbornness and ambition, literature and influence, and the glory of liminal space. When Peter Woolley invited me to appear here today, thank you, it was the week before my own 20th college reunion. It was canny timing. I hadn't been to a reunion before, and I was a little ambivalent. I didn't know what to expect or why I wanted to go. But I realized just 40 minutes into the weekend why. I was there to remember, deeply, physically remember what it felt like to be at college. The consuming energy, the sense of potential, the electricity of your brain working, how you can feed off curiosity, the sacred space of a beautiful campus, the incredible gift of having your purpose not only defined for you, but attainable. Your job is to learn. Nothing is ever quite so linear after college. I loved college, can you tell? That's because college was a miracle for me. And this is the story part. You see, I was a grind in college, summa cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa, but the twist is that I had flunked out of high school. It's rather shocking when I think about it, which I do all the time, because my children are school-aged and I want them to succeed and not go through what I did. I think about it because I teach here, because my graduate students are like me in many ways. They didn't get where they are by any kind of conventional route. Like me, many of them are middle-aged, but still think in the most ambitious terms. We all want to grow up and be writers, tell stories. So in 2nd grade, I told my teacher, Mr. Shepherd Blue, that when I grew up, I wanted to be an author of books. I still have that piece of paper somewhere. It looks a little bit like I wrote author of books, but I have to nonetheless appreciate the kind of life vow that that piece of paper represents. And things started to go downhill soon after. In 10th grade, I got an F- the second time I took Latin 1. I didn't know it existed. I held the school record for unexcused absences to a single class. Remedial geometry, 81 absences. And although I walked in my high school graduation ceremony, I was presented with an empty tube rather than a diploma. The miracle for me is, how did that kid get here? And I can tell you, it wasn't all miracle and fairy dust. It was a lot of self-recrimination and very hard work. A few years ago, my sister called me. She was sorting through ancient mixed-up files from my mother's house after she died, and she had found some of my elementary school records from about 1978. "Do you know you had an IEP?" she asked. At the time, I didn't, strictly speaking, know what an individual education program was. My sister did. She explained that I had been diagnosed with a learning disability, unspecified in the papers she could dig up. And as far as she could determine, they had made a diagnosis when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, marked it in the record, and moved on. She said to me before we hung up the phone, "The school system totally failed you." Well, that's a relief. I spent the last 20 years thinking I was the one who had failed school. It was probably dyslexia. I can put together enough of the pieces now and know from digging through old family files that my grandfather was dyslexic. It would have been a difficult diagnosis back then because I was also a very advanced early reader with precocious verbal skills, which certainly would have confused the issue. But my reading skills were a wild coincidence, maybe the miracle, of having been taught to read in a pre-kindergarten that used exactly the right system for me, a now extinct whole word approach that relied on Fun with Dick and Jane as a primary text. The thing about learning disabilities, whether you know about them or not, is that you either learn strategies for overcoming them or tactics for avoiding the trouble. As I moved through school and started struggling with algebra, synthesizing facts, spelling, time management, I learned to excel at avoidance. People, each of us, find the thing that saves them. In my case, irony of all ironies, literature saved me from dyslexia. Reading was the first thing that I was really good at. It fiercely inspired my imagination. I have just as vivid memories of scenes from books I read when I was little as I do of things that actually happened to me. Here they are, brother and sister swimming for pennies in the fountain after hours at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in the mixed up files of Miss Basil E. Frankenweiler. There I am in the back seat of my parents' car eating a bubblegum ice cream cone with 17 gumballs in it, and I put them all in my mouth at the same time, and then I blew a window and the wind came through the open, blew a bubble and the wind came through the open window and the whole goopy mess got in my hair. Literature engaged me with a sense of gravity and the transcendence of beauty. The reason that I'm so mad at that 9th grade English teacher is because Tennessee Williams was my first literary hero. And I'd read all his plays and life story by 9th grade. His work was so strong and so fragile. His women were so strong and fragile. He took all the confusion of life, the liminal space, and compressed it into tiny speech poems. Characters were metaphor. Dialogues were allegory. I knew her dumb handout was cheating us. So you see, I can't do math. I'm basically a very slow reader and a heart-stoppingly reckless procrastinator. But literature is my playground. There are monkey bars there. Even though it probably masked a disability and left me stranded with no formal support or learning tools, I wouldn't have survived without the superpower of reading. In my own way, I cracked the game. I fled high school, got a job in a flower shop, and went to night school. Change wasn't instantaneous. I had to screw up quite a few night school classes before something clicked. And then it was a matter of discipline, stubbornness, some invented study strategies, and ambition. The ability to imagine that I could be different. They call it future memory. You structure your aspirations for your future with the narrative tools of your past. You literally can't have hope without memory. And where do you think I found those tools? The memories, real and imagined, that let me envision an alternate path for myself. Reading. When she found out that I had been asked to speak here today at Convocation, Renee Steinke said to me, "Wonderful, you can talk about how important reading and writing is to you." Of course, what else would I talk about? I've built my life and my career around reading and writing, gifts that are hard-won, yes, but there's more to it, and that is what I'm talking about here today. I am not supposed to be doing any of this. When I was in 2nd grade, when school was still fun, I remember that for show and tell, I brought in my father's doctoral dissertation of Schenkerian analysis and music theory. I remember dramatically dropping the huge book to the carpet in the middle of the group circle by way of presentation. I couldn't believe how many pages it was. I am also pretty sure that I was as proud of the impression that I could actually read the thing as I was of him writing a massive book and becoming a Dr. Proctor. I wonder now whether maybe I made a life around reading and writing for 2 reasons. The first one is that I love literature. I love what it's given me, how it's taught me to think, to see the world, to understand how different we all are from each other and how interesting that is. It's the passion that saved me. And the second reason is that I must love a challenge, love climbing really tall mountains. Some days it's very clear to me that I'm still that little girl lugging her father's doctoral dissertation into show and tell, to show the sheer heft of his achievement and to tell everyone that I know how to read it. Thank you.
Thank you, Minna. We're glad you succeeded in overcoming your many challenges and are here at FDU today. I am now pleased to present the recipients of the 2014 Distinguished Faculty Awards, who are being honored for their outstanding contributions to the university. This year's recipient of the Distinguished Faculty Award for Service is Paulette M. Labish. Paulette, please approach the podium. Paulette M. Labish, Professor of Administrative Science, Distinguished Faculty Award for Service. American activist Marian Wright Edelman said, "Service is the rent we pay for being. It is the very purpose of life." Paulette Labish embodies this notion of service with a purpose. Her dedication to the university has made a tremendous impact. After retiring from the state of New Jersey's Department of Labor, she joined us full-time in 2001 and brought her incredible drive and work ethic to FDU, teaching a wide range of graduate courses in the School of Administrative Science. She is well known for being a catalyst for innovation and the expansion of our offerings. In fact, her dean has said, "You are one of the major reasons for the success of the Petrocelli College of Continuing Studies." For example, you developed the program proposals for several important offerings, including the Master of Science in Homeland Security and the Master of Sports Administration. You prepared the program proposals for the Bachelor of Arts in Individualized Studies and the Master of Administrative Science at our Vancouver campus. Further, you developed a proposal that earned FDU a state grant for the Certified Public Manager program. Students often seek you for your advice and counsel, but so do your peers. Many comment on your uncanny knack for solving problems, and many respond well to your kind and gentle manner. An influential voice among your colleagues, you served in the Faculty Senate as Senate Vice President and then President. Your list of civic and professional activities is incredibly long. You have served, for instance, as President 3 times, in fact, of the Certified Public Manager Society of New Jersey and the American Academy of Certified Public Managers, earning the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Certified Public Manager Society of New Jersey and the prestigious Henning Award from the American Academy of Certified Public Managers. We are delighted to add to that chorus of salutations, and today we proudly bestow upon you the Distinguished Faculty Award for Service. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, Provost, for those kind words. You really can't do all of these things by yourself. So I would like to thank, and since I can't see if anybody's out there, Dr. Kovacs, who nominated me, and he may be tied up with some things, the Dean of our program, Ron Calisi, the Dean of Petrocelli College, Ken Verkins. Both of these have been very open-minded when we've done proposals of things. And of course, Joe Kiernan, who through the years has been very supportive. So I'm very pleased to be here. And as I said, you can't do it by yourself. So I want to thank all of the faculty who have been so helpful through the years.
The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship is Associate Professor Khyati Joshi. Khyati Joshi, Associate Professor of Education, Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship. British chemist William Henry is quoted as saying, "What is research but a blind date with knowledge?" Your groundbreaking research into race, religion, and education has taken you on dates to the White House, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the International Festival of Arts and Ideas at Yale University, and even to Danish public radio. The result has been an outpouring of knowledge as you shed light on multicultural learning environments and how racial and religious diversity impacts 21st century America and the world. One colleague writes, "I find Kiyati Joshi's scholarly work to be highly original, making valuable contributions to social justice education, teacher education, Asian American studies, and religious studies. Her work on religion and race provides crucial content to courses on curriculum and teaching and prepares teachers to be culturally relevant and responsive to their students. As an external advisor to the Pew Research Center's Forum on Religion and Public Life, you contributed to a 2012 study called Asian Americans, a Mosaic of Faiths, which examines Asian Americans' religious practices and beliefs. You've also translated your research findings into the classroom with courses including Religion, Schools and Society, and the Multicultural Classroom. One student wrote that a course with Professor Joshi makes you think in ways you've never thought before and opens your eyes to new points of view. You are now at work on editing the 3rd edition of Teaching for Diversity and Social Justice and writing a new book, Building a More Perfect Union. Your research on religion and privilege is unique and timely by expanding the discussion of religious oppression beyond the traditional frames of anti-Semitism and, more recently, Islamophobia, says another colleague. She is an international star in this field. Indeed, you are a star in this field, and of course, you are a star here at Fairleigh Dickinson University as well. And so today we proudly bestow upon you this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'd like to really thank the selection committee, not only for selecting me, but I think by doing that, you selected and said, we like engaged scholarship. And I'm really devoted to that. I think that many of us do great research. We have data, we have our analysis, we have our findings, and I think it's really important to make it accessible to the larger public. And that's really what I've been about for the last 5 years, and that's where my focus is going to lie for the years ahead. I really want to thank a number of people. First, a big shout out to the librarians, both at this campus and the Metro campus. I really appreciate everything y'all do for me and for many others and my students. At the School of Education, I really owe a huge thanks to Mary Farrell because she hired me. I applied for many, many positions, and when you do interdisciplinary scholarship, it's great for scholarship, research, and writing, and I discovered not so great for trying to land a job. But Mary saw the bridges I built between disciplines, and I can't thank her enough. And my director for a very long time also, Dr. Vicki Cohen, has always, always, always supported my scholarship. And sometimes things I do are really directly related to education. And then I have other projects that are, shall we say, less directly related to K through 12 education. And she and Dean Mills and Provost Kiernan have always, always supported me along the way. The next two women really provide me with amazing amounts of inspiration. My sister, Hethel Gordon Joshi, who could not be here, actually I just messed up her name, it's Hethel Joshi Gordon, and she is one on fire woman, and I'm so happy she's my sister because we kind of keep each other going. And someone who I consider my sister from another mother is Professor Catherine Loeb in psychology, who you inspire me in ways that you probably don't even know. There are three women I got to know because my second year here at FDU, I was put on a service project, a committee, And I had the great fortune to meet Professor Alice Shoemate, as many of you know, who is no longer here, Professor Aixa Ritz from Hospitality, Tourism, and Management. I'm sure I got the name of the school wrong, and I apologize. And Elise Salem, who is here all the way from Lebanon here today to be with me. And I can't see you, but thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And most importantly, these three women have just been my everything. And finally, there's 5 folks who I believe should be listed as all my co-authors and co-presenters for everything I've ever done. And that is my husband, John, and my son, Kedar. And my husband particularly deserves thanks because just when I think I can't do any more, he's like, no, you can, and I got you back, always, and he does. My son, who is a lot of fun and now is turning into my little budding research assistant, which is great. And finally, my mom and dad. My father is here today from Atlanta, Georgia, and my father-in-law also, and my mom, who they did everything for us growing up, and they continue to show us and role model for me what a great parent is. Their support is never ending. And no matter where I've gone for conferences, chances are I've stopped via Atlanta to hand off my son so I could get to the conference. And that is why they deserve to be listed as co-authors and co-presenters. So thank you again very much.
The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching is Associate Professor Kent Fairfield. Kent? Kent Fairfield, Associate Professor of Management, Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. This is a quote attributed to Aristotle and one that applies to you, Professor Kent Fairfield. You're a prime example of educating both heart and mind, emphasizing service learning while guiding Silberman College of Business students on their path to become leaders. Taking a class with him is more than just a lesson in management. It's a lesson in life skills and values that go beyond management or even the field of business, writes one colleague. It's about being a better person on this planet. In the course Service Learning and Management, your students take on a community service project, sharpening both personal and teamwork skills. Over the years, they've donated time locally and internationally, organizing the Hackensack River Cleanup on Earth Day, running a career fair for the Urban League of Bergen County, and building a well in Haiti and a school in Cambodia. You've campaigned for all Silberman students taking what is now organizational behavior to have a business mentor with whom they exchange regular emails, discuss work experiences, and gain professional insight. Projects linking students to the outside world are your specialty. In addition, you've helped launch the Professional Development Program, which enhances student job readiness with workshops, guest speakers, and interview preparation. In 2007, you received the Teacher of the Year designation at the Florham campus. You repeated that honor 4 years later at the Metropolitan campus. Then in 2012, the Council for Advancement and Support of Education and the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Education recognized you as New Jersey Professor of the Year. Recently, you delivered the keynote address at the Honors Day dinner on the Metropolitan campus. In that speech, you reminded students to simply exceed expectations. Today, because you so consistently exceed our expectations, we're proud to honor you with this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I feel this gives me a chance to reflect on how is it I'm standing here today. I start with my mother, who really planted early love for ideas and learning. My father, under his exterior Midwestern amiability, there lay a deeply felt concern for the welfare of others. A career that started lending money and marketing services to corporations moved toward assignments in training and development, and my first experience in applied learning. Later in my consulting practice, some of my greatest joy of helping my clients was when it was time to train those people in their own growth and development. After I went back to Columbia for my PhD, I taught a few other places, but it was when I arrived at Fairleigh Dickinson I found a place dedicated to really first-class learning and teaching. And I learned also, good education is a team sport. My chairs, Scott Beeson and now Gwen Jones, have encouraged me completely with my impulse for experiential learning, including in launching the service learning activities. I love giving students the chance for what I call learning management by doing management. And I find it's a powerful way of engendering both competence and confidence, what I regard as a crucial combination in any field for real growth and development. I'm also blessed with colleagues like Joel Harmon, Gerard Farias, and Professor Emeritus Dan Toomey, who've inspired me to bring to our students real involvement in societal concerns, looking at organizations' environmental impact, as well as their financial prosperity. I'm excited that our new Dean, Andy Rossman, is continuing to emphasize this kind of innovative teaching, the professional development program, as well as a greater role for our valuable Institute for Sustainable Enterprise. I also want to thank President Drucker, Provost Chris Capuano, Provost Joe Kiernan, and those who have chosen me for this honor today. Finally, I have to share my love and admiration for my wife, Dr. Kathy Cassidy. She's out there somewhere, I can't see you. She is not only my life partner, but also I see her as a virtuoso teacher in the Graduate School of Nursing at Seton Hall. I've learned so much from witnessing her deep concern for the personal welfare of her students while maintaining the most rigorous standards for them to become certified nurse practitioners. Kathy, you've supported me beyond all reasonable expectation. I could not have done this without you. Thank you. And thank you all very much.
I want to echo one thing Professor Fairfield just said, that teaching and learning are a team sport. In fact, universities are a team sport. Just as we have many faculty who've given many years of distinguished service to FDU, we have many staff members who make outstanding contributions every day to the success of the university. These are pillars of FDU. They've served the university with commitment and distinction. They promote civility on campus. They show unusual concern for the welfare of our students. They serve as role models for their colleagues and for our students. So I'm proud to introduce the Florham campus recipients of the pillars of the university. The first is Mike Ravelli. It doesn't happen without Mike. This convocation doesn't happen without Mike. So you're the only awardee who actually set it up for yourself. Mike is the go-to guy on campus. He makes sure our students, the faculty, and the staff have the environment they need to do their work. He's very quick to take the initiative. He's not there when you need him. He's usually there before you need him. He's the one anticipating the first snowflake, inspecting the buildings and grounds, personally responding when a student calls to say the roof is leaking. He's the one always thinking about how to make this an even more beautiful campus. He's connected to and concerned with the entire community. You will see him at open houses and weekend tours nighttime programs, and sporting events. You'll see his smile as he greets everyone, and the look of concern when something is not right. True. You've mastered the look of concern. In fact, that he is the epitome of commitment and a man who has the respect and admiration of us all, a man who is a pillar of FDU.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to thank everyone who nominated me for one of the highest positions given at Fairleigh Dickinson. I would also like to thank 3 people who I work with in the facilities department here at the Madison campus. Paul Palladino, Director and Property Manager of the Madison campus. Michael DiArcangel, our MEP Manager, and Tony Tessetta, our Secretary, who we could do without. I would also like to thank, it's been an honor and a privilege working for a fine university like this. It's been great these years. I thank you and have a nice day.
Our next recipient actually couldn't make it today, and you've already won. Yeah. Right? Ellen Miller couldn't be with us today, so Carol will accept on Ellen's behalf. Ellen is the Associate Director for Enrollment Services. She is in the front lines, welcoming students to FDU. She lives and breathes FDU's mission and values. She is a consummate professional, answering every challenge with class and civility. And in that office, there are many challenges. She is sensitive and caring. She leaves no stone unturned. When a student has a problem, she doesn't rest until the problem is resolved. It's very common at the end of every term to see students visiting her office to thank her for her guidance, her friendship, and for resolving a problem. So today we will add our thanks, our praise, proclaiming that Ellen Miller, too, is a true pillar of Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Ellen is extremely disappointed that she can't be here with us today, but she's so appreciative of receiving this award. She's asked me to share a few words with you. I'm honored to become a member of the Pillar Society and thank all of those who made this possible. Thank you to Carol for hiring me and giving me the opportunity to work at FDU. Thank you to my Enrollment Services family for your kindness and support, in particular during the past 2 years. I'm proud to be a part of an organization whose dedication to excellence creates opportunity and growth. Thank you to the entire Florham campus community for this honor.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Joseph Kiernan, the Provost of the Metropolitan Campus, and it's my privilege and honor to introduce the Metropolitan Campus recipients of the Pillars of the University Award. First, we have Elizabeth Dickovics. To so many of our new people to the university, Liz is the voice of FDU. She's the first voice they hear when someone from outside calls the Enrollment Services office. And
Enrollment Management.
Enrollment Management. and here's Liz's voice. I also happen to know that her caller ID works well, because when I call, she answers the phone and I hear, "It's Joe Kiernan, are you here?" And I hear John in the background say, "No." Few people are so well placed to impress prospective students as Liz, and we're very fortunate to have her. In her position, she's often called upon to help students navigate the admissions procedures, to explain the mission and landscape of the university, and to deal with any of the wide range of issues that could influence the decision-making process. Going above the call of duty is not just a cliche for Liz, it's the way she approaches every task. For example, as a member of the Financial Appeals Committee, with uncommon compassion, she reaches out to every family to discuss their situation and what is possible. She's also serving actively on the Professional Administrative Senate as Senator at Large, and for helping students make their dreams come true, and for her many extraordinary contributions to FDU, we proudly salute Liz as a pillar of the university.
God, I feel like Sally Field. And only the people my age would understand that. Thank you, Joe. Those were very kind words. I have to first thank our team, because without our team in all of our admissions areas and our financial aid, none of what I do would be possible. We have a set of directors who are so dedicated to what they do, they make it happen every day. And I cannot leave this stage without mentioning the person who makes it all happen for our entire team, and that's John Wexler, our Vice President for Enrollment Management, because he's just really knows his business, and he's probably the best boss I've ever had in 40 years. I was recently asked, what is a family? Well, when I thought about the question, I have 2 sons that I'm inordinately proud of, and a husband that's almost perfect of 40 years. But when I thought about it, I realized that a family is someone that celebrates with you in the good times and make things really nice. They also are there to support you and console you in the times of difficulty. And that's what I found at FDU. I've been here 15 years, and I can't say enough about how much I love my job and how honored I am to be here and to receive this. And I thank my colleagues for nominating me. Thank you.
The second recipient of the Pillar Award for the Metropolitan Campus is William Bill Duran. Bill is one of those people that works behind the scenes, and a lot of the reasons why we get nice videos and other particular some nice things is all because of Bill. He's the multimedia specialist for the university systems and security. And I have to make a note that Bill works with Bill Van Wert most of the time. Bill is out there, and he complained to me before that he had to do this all by himself today.
We'll see how good he does.
From the famous celebrities who have visited FDU to the grads who greet their parents on the Jumbotron at commencement, Bill has skillfully depicted the life of the university for more than 3 decades. He was a student on our Rutherford campus and later became a full-time employee in the Messler Library Media Department. He has walked us through the dark days of videotape and VCRs and held our hands as we welcomed the digital age. And he's made us comfortable even when we told him we don't look good on camera. I've done that. You've got to fix some of it.
I could do that.
Right. Make me a little younger and thinner. Okay. For his first-rate media services and for always making us shine, we are proud to now make him the star of the show and present him with the Pillar Award. Congratulations.
When considering the 30-plus years of my association with Fairleigh Dickinson University, I'm struck by how so much here has changed, while at the same time, for me at least, so much has stayed the same. I'm invigorated by the innovative new programs continually being introduced, the excitement of new libraries being built, campuses added, and the vital presence of new students here each fall. But what strikes me most, though, is the essential spirit that always persists. That strong sense of community, the feeling that everyone belongs, and the shared commitment we all have to something greater than ourselves. That's what makes this honor that much more meaningful and precious to me. Thank you to the nominating committee for this wonderful honor. Thank you to the mentors and faculty that have guided and shaped me and continue to do so. Lastly, thank you to my wife, Kathy, with whom I'm grateful to share my Fairleigh Dickinson journey and who inspires me every day. Thank you.
Bill?
One of the fortunate things about being the president that whenever you want to, you can issue a presidential citation. So this year I have 4. The awardees this year are Craig Morton, Ellie Amdor, Alfredo Tan, and Marion McClary. Craig, won't you come forward with Ellie? Craig Milton, Assistant Provost, Metropolitan Campus, Ellie Amdor, Adjunct Faculty at the Metropolitan Campus. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote in his poem, The Psalm of Life, that the lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind footprints in the sands of time. Rather fittingly, Greg and Ellie selected a phrase from this poem as the name for their out-of-classroom social, intellectual, and cultural experience for students, the sands of time. Together, Ellie and Craig have defined the co-curricular experience at the Metropolitan Campus, offering trips, tours, talks, and time to hundreds of members of the university community since the launch of Sands of Time in 2008. Running Sands of Time takes hours, days, nights on their time. Coordinating excursions to museums, historical sites, concert halls, and local cities is no small feat. We often think of the college experience in concrete, academics, athletics, and student life. With Sands of Time, Ellie and Craig have tapped into a much less tangible aspect of college, personal growth. Our students achieve fulfillment by becoming, as Ellie and Craig so affectionately referred to them, as Sands of Timers. For their dedication and drive to share the vision, spirit, and legacy of Peter Sammartino with today's students, we honor them for their contribution to the campus. On behalf of the university community, I present the citations and invite Egg and Ellie to say a few words.
Thank you, President Drucker, for this honor. Today is truly the high point of my FTU career thus far. 8 years ago, Ellie came to me with the idea of the Sands of Time program. As a classically trained musician with a strong liberal arts education, I had often thought, how can we strengthen the cultural and artistic opportunities on the Metropolitan Campus for our students? And also I often thought about, is there a way that we can do so in a way that strengthens student connection with faculty, staff, and alumni, one of the keys to student persistence? Ellie's proposal from the very beginning fit this bill. As President Drucker mentioned, we're now entering our 7th year of programming with over 800 students, faculty, staff, and alumni who have participated in one or more Sands of Time events. There are many people Ellie and I would like to thank who have made this program possible and successful. First, we would like to thank my partner, Tom Gomez, and Ellie's wife, Jeanette Amdur, for their support and patience of the many hours that we put into this program. I'd also like to thank Richard Panicucci, former Assistant Provost and Professor Emeritus, whose early support of the program was instrumental and whose professional and personal mentoring I owe my success to. I'd also like to thank Provost Kiernan, who has supported my desire to continue my role with this program even as I moved from the Division of Students Affairs to the Office of the Provost. Sands of Time is a really unique experience for me that allows me to continue interacting with students on a daily basis, and I'm very appreciative, Joe, to have this opportunity to continue in this role. I'd also like to thank Michelle Vaccaro and Joan Lozak, the two people that really run the Metropolitan Campus. They are two true pillars of the Metropolitan Campus, and without the work they put into booking of tickets and buses and writing check requests, reserving rooms, and ordering catering for our events, we couldn't have this successful program. And finally, I want to thank Ellie. His passion for the project from the very first day has been unwavering. He devotes multiple hours. On average, he devotes 20 hours a week to this project, just managing databases and event signups and things such as that. And without that, we could not have this program. Ellie is the essence of a Renaissance man, and the knowledge and passion that he shares with our students is truly the key to the success of the program. Thank you again for this honor.
Thank you, President Drucker, Shelley. And thank you, Craig, before all. When I dreamed up the Sands of Time idea in March of 2008, I immediately went to Michael Adams, who used to let me invade his office when I thought there was a reason to do it. And Michael instantly embraced the idea, gave me his unconditional blessing along with his trademark hug, warned me that it would take more money than might be practical, and then suggested whom I should address to move forward. I thought about it and decided there was somebody else, Craig. So while the dream was first mine, the strength of this program, its continuity, and the very reality of Sands of Time is directly because of Craig's commitment and devotion. I also want to thank Craig's partner, Tom, and my wife, Jeanette, for letting Craig spend so much time with me and for letting me spend so much time with Craig. One thing that they know is that we're not home when they expect it. They know whom we are with. But now, with great love, I want to tell you about the people, and I want to thank the people who were the true inspiration for Sands of Time, the reason that I and we are here today. Dr. William Kirscher, Dr. Charles Angoff, Professor John Dollar, Professor Jack Beaton, Professor Stan Iwanski. These were the really, really great professors, great human beings who had an immeasurably profound effect on me and on so many. More outside the classroom than in. They taught us, they touched us, they reached deep inside us and into our souls. And so many years later, I realized what they were really trying to tell us, that the most important thing you can do with your life is something that will outlast you. So as they did with us, we now do with today's generation, whose eagerness to participate in Sands of Time and to let us touch them and reach inside them allows me to believe and encourages me to continue to believe that through them we have the chance to touch a future we will never see. And that we continue in Longfellow's verse, lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints in the sands of time. They inspired us, Michael blessed us, and Shelley, you validate us. So thank you not for this honor, because the honor does not come today. The honor comes in doing what got us here today. But thank you for this recognition, and for the encouragement to continue.
Will Alfredo Tan and Marion McClary please join me at the podium? Alfredo C. Tan, Professor of Electrical Engineering, Director, Lee Gildart Oswald Haas School of Computer Sciences and Engineering, and Marion McClary, Associate Professor of Biological Sciences, Co-Director of the School of Natural Sciences. In the United States today, there is a national call to action urging our colleges and universities and our schools, elementary and high schools, to better prepare students to succeed in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the so-called STEM fields. This is where we need expertise in our age of innovation. This is where we are falling behind some other nations. And most importantly, this is where many of the jobs will be coming over through the rest of the century and beyond. FDU has heard that call loud and clear, and today we honor two of the most successful leaders in providing STEM education to the underrepresented populations, Alfredo Tan and Marion McClary. Alfredo Tan has led a number of creative efforts in this regard, including establishing the groundbreaking Technical Enrichment and Outreach Program, or TEOP. The 12-week program held on Saturdays has tremendously impacted more than 700 high school students, most of them underrepresented minorities, young women, and students from financially disadvantaged families. By introducing them to educational and career opportunities in various science, technology, and engineering and mathematics fields. Many of these students later enrolled at FDU and continue pursuing careers and studies in their fields. Further, Alfredo connected his school to the historically black colleges and universities' STEM fellowship programs for graduates who pursue master's programs in these areas, and several of the sponsored students have attended Fairleigh Dickinson University. Marion McClary has FDU's strong involvement in the Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, the LSAMP program, which is funded by the National Science Foundation to increase the number of minority students who graduate and earn PhDs in STEM fields. FDU is one of the 9 universities in the Garden State LSAMP. The Alliance, established in 2009, has already doubled the number of STEM graduates from minority groups. FDU was in fact one of the just 2 institutions that doubled its number of graduates after only 3 years. And FDU was the first university to offer these students an organized international research experience. For their determined efforts to bring students the joy and rewards of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, I'm honored to present the Presidential Citation by and behalf of the university community. Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you, Marion. Please say a few words.
President Drucker, thank you very much for this recognition. Our success mentioned in your citation was a result of the great team effort by my colleagues in the Gildart Haas School of Computer Sciences and Engineering, aided by the FDU community. So today, I humbly accept this award on their behalf. Special thanks go to Professor Melvin Lewis for his hard work in supervising the TEOP outreach program for the last 11 years. I also would like to thank Dean Mills and Campus Provost Dr. Kernan for supporting and sharing our vision to become a premier provider of STEM education to professionals and students, especially the minority, the female, and the underprivileged students. To my wife, Rosemary, thank you for your love and support over the years. Thank you again, President Drucker, for the honor you have bestowed upon our school. Thank you, everybody.
First, I'd like to thank President Drucker for this award. It was definitely a surprise. I thank anyone that might have been involved in his decision. I would like first to thank the students, because without them, we wouldn't be able to have the growth that we've had now. And because when we first started off LSAMP, it was very few students, and they themselves helped recruit others into the LSAMP program. And the other schools, the 9 schools he mentioned in the New Jersey LSAMP, asked me, how do you do it? Because our growth was, we started off small and really like doubled and just grew exponentially. And I said, well, the students, they self-recruit, because we give them a financial incentive. With the grant money that comes in, we use it for various reasons, so one of which is to reward them for recruiting other students and to go into different functions that we have. So I thank the grant office for managing the grant, Jane Chambers and Christine Shore, Christine Bravo. I also thank Dean Mills and Associate Dean Terry Montani and Provost Kiernan, Provost Capuano for any signatures that they have to do to get these students paid. I thank accounts payable for getting them paid. I keep saying that, that's a big part of it. I also really want to thank the STEM faculty, and not just in the School of Natural Sciences, but because we give the most money for students who do research with faculty members. So I thank you, STEM faculty that are here and that are not here, for opening your laboratory doors to these students, and those that are doing it now or will do it in the future. I thank you for doing so, because that's where they really start to learn about research a little bit more and can consider going on for a doctorate, which is the ultimate goal of the LSAMP program. I also want to thank Margaret Campo and Nestle Caparis in the School of Natural Sciences, Nestle First, who screens these students, because these students, unfortunately, can't be international students. It's, as President Drucker said, from the National Science Foundation, so they have to be citizens, so we have to verify that. And I thank Margaret Campo, who does the check requests to get them paid. And I'd also like to thank my wife, who's here today, for being here with me, and my children who are not here. And I thank them especially for understanding the summer hours I have to spend away from them working on the LSAMP report that due every year. I've been doing it for 5 years, and we just got funded for phase 2, so I'm going to be doing it to 5 more, God willing. And so, thank you all. Thank you, President Drucker, again. Thank you.
So before we end our convocation, before we unconvoke, there are, or would it be disconvoke, Minna? So, 3 housekeeping items very quickly. First, I want to invite the musicians back to their places. They include Steve Girardi, who is on our faculty. Second, I want to revisit the theme of team sport and thank all the people who got involved in making this convocation happen. The people from my office, from public safety, from facilities, the student ambassadors who are still available to make sure we don't hurt ourselves coming down these steps off the platform before you leave. And of course, Mike Urvelli, the only pillar who's only teed up his own award ceremony. And I want to thank you for coming to this convocation. I finally want to invite you all to join President Drucker, to join the trustees and your colleagues for a reception at the School of Pharmacy. If you need directions, they were included with your copy of the literary review and the program. Have a great academic year, and please let us recess first. Thank you.